Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of Jay Delivers Sports. My name is JD Soto, and we are going to be kicking things off with the documentary series focused around the 5-time regular season MVP, 6-time final MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all-time leader in points per game in both the regular and postseason history. Of course, we are talking about the GOAT, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Now, throughout this documentary series, I am going to be making these videos giving my takes on some of the issues that I thought were most relevant in those episodes. Now, one of my favorite things is this documentary series is not just focused on Jordan. It's focused on the whole Bulls team, not just the 97-98 season, but we do go back in time and we get a history on all of the players. Now, of course, Jordan's the main person here, but we cannot go on with this documentary without talking about perhaps one of the most underrated players of all time, the best Robin of all time. Of course, we are talking about Scottie Pippen. Now, unfortunately, one of the reasons Pippen is underrated is because he just happened to play with the greatest player of all time. Pippen was an athletic marvel, a defensive genius. This guy could do it all. He could score, he could defend, he could dribble, he can assist. Now, entering the 97-98 season, Pippen was on the final year of a 7-year deal that had paid him only $18 million total. Now, back in 1990, when he signed this deal, it was actually a pretty good deal for him. He was the 8th highest player in the league. Now, Pippen just wanted the financial security to be able to take care of his parents, take care of his family, and make sure that any back injuries didn't hold him back. Reinsdorf, on the other hand, did take on a little bit of a risk. So I do see both sides to this controversial topic on whether Pippen's contract should have been reworked. On the one hand, the Bulls had just won 2 titles in a row and were vying to win their 3rd in the row. On the other hand, Reinsdorf and Krause had already paid Pippen. They took a risk as well by signing him to the 7-year deal. And by the sound of this documentary, Krause and Reinsdorf had no intention of taking this core and taking this championship caliber team past 98. So would you really pay somebody more for that one season, knowing you're not going to extend them after that when you already have them locked on a team-friendly deal? I completely get that. But on Pippen's side, I'm never going to stop anybody from going after their money. You do whatever it takes for you to get your money. You only live once, you're only young once, and especially for athletes, you're only in tip-top athletic shape once. So Pippen had every right for doing what he did, holding out, having the surgery late, even though Michael Jordan didn't like that, but Michael Jordan's number one priority was always winning. And so Pippen had every right to do all these things. Never stop anyone from going after their own money. Now, in the end, it didn't work. He didn't get an extension. He didn't get to rework his contract for 1997-98, but he had every right in taking any measure he could in order to get his money. Now, Pippen's deal and refusing to restructure is just one of the many issues Krause had with many of the players. It seemed to me that he did do a lot of good for that team. He discovered Phil Jackson. He drafted Pippen and Horace Grant. He put the right pieces around Jordan. He discovered Kukoc. He signed Rodman. He did a lot of great things. But let's be real. He did not do the most important thing throughout that process. Draft Michael Jordan. Now that was Rod Thorne who made that decision. And because he didn't do that, it seemed like he just didn't feel like it was his team. Like he didn't get enough credit for it. And it almost seemed like he wanted to rebuild. It seemed like he wanted to destroy this, at the time, 5-time world champion, going for their 6th, just so he can have the pride and just so he can feel like he had built a championship team. Because he was never going to get full credit. And really, it seemed like he didn't even get the credit he deserved. Although a lot of that was his fault, making stupid comments, saying organizations win, not playing, however it was misquoted. That's what he meant. He didn't like Jordan getting more credit. He didn't like Jordan, Pippen, Rodman being the rock stars of the team. Now, while I do get it, it's awfully selfish. And I'm glad that they didn't end up breaking up that team because of course they went on to win that 6th championship. But then I started thinking about it, and as much as it pains me to say it, it might actually be a good thing that they broke it up after the 6th championship. They were getting old. They were all past their primes. They were going to have to retool. While Jordan still, I'm sure, could have played at the highest level. He had just won an MVP. He would have easily been one of the top 3 players in the game, if not the best. Pippen had already started slowing down. That finals run, especially against the Jazz, Pippen seemed like he was broken down. Rodman was broken down. Jordan fumes doing just enough to win. Now chalk it up to Jordan. And of course he did just enough to win. He paced himself perfectly throughout that whole series. In game 6, hitting the game-winning shot, making that steal. But I almost feel like Krause unintentionally might have actually saved the Bulls' legacy. Jordan got to say he was 6 for 6 in finals. Jordan got to say he was 6 for 6 in seasons where he had another all-star with him, in full seasons where they didn't get a migraine. We'll just ignore that game 7 against the Pistons. But the legacy was almost safe because maybe they could have won in the strike shortened season. That probably would have helped an older team like them. But without the proper pieces around them to retool with the aging supporting cast, man, it would have been real hard to beat those Spurs with an emerging dunking. Robinson still in the very back end of his prime. So while I'm sure a lot of you won't agree with me, it might have actually been inadvertently a good thing that Krause did by breaking up that team and getting rid of Phil Jackson, not paying Pippen, and thus Jordan leaving, only from a saving the legacy standard and being able to go up on top as 2-time three-peats, never losing in the NBA Finals. Now, I caught something else that I thought a little weird. A lot of the players and even a lot of the media they interviewed, a lot of them are harping on Krause a lot. And he does deserve it to an extent. But there was two players specifically that defended him quite a bit. And I just want to point that out. Paxson and Kerr, in all their interviews, they were defending Krause. Oh, I see where he's coming from. Oh, maybe that was the right move. Oh, I'm okay with things that he said. And it's just interesting because these two players have front office experience. Paxson, of course, has been a GM and a VP of basketball operations for the Bulls. And then Kerr was a GM as well and now a coach of the Warriors. So I just thought it interesting that they were the two that defended him a lot. And I guess somebody does need to be there to defend Krause. He wasn't all bad. He was very instrumental in bringing those championships. But I thought it was interesting that those two specific players were the ones that defended him a lot. Another interesting side nugget. They interviewed President Barack Obama for this. I get it. He's a big name. He's from Illinois, been the senator there. But in the caption, to describe who he was, they put former Chicago resident. This guy was elected for 2 terms as president. He was the leader of the free world. And for him to be reduced to former Chicago resident, it just seems a little demeaning, regardless of your views on him as president. Now, I have thoroughly enjoyed watching this documentary series so far. I am enjoying the way they're flashing back and forward. I'm loving that they are incorporating little things from the past that are relevant to the 97-98 season. I guess it would have been a little boring if we were just looking at hidden footage from 97-98. I'm sure that would have attracted a lot of diehard basketball fans, but ESPN and I guess Netflix too, because they were part of the producers according to the credits, we're smarter than that. They knew they needed to attract more than just the diehard fan. They needed to attract the average fan. They needed to attract the young fan. And they really have done an excellent job at going back and forth like that to keep everyone interested and reminding people how great Jordan was back in the day and giving that little backstory on what made Jordan Jordan, what made Pippen Pippen, what made Rodman Rodman, what made Phil Jackson Phil Jackson. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing with the episodes going forward. Now, leave me a comment down below on what you thought of the Last Dance episodes, what you thought of Jerry Krause, Reinsdorf, the whole Pippen situation, how you feel about Jordan being portrayed. Tell me what you thought about my takes. Comment down below on that. And continue watching out for more videos. I'm going to start trying to post twice a week. Not just about this documentary series. That's just what we're kicking things off with. But I'm going to be posting about all things sports. Baseball, football, tennis, any sport. If you want me to do a specific story or takes on any situation, comment down below or message me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links are going to be in the description box. Once again, my name is J.D. Soto, and this is J Deliver Sports. You have a good one, folks.